This game apparently is being reported to have sold 1 million copies. They said, and they were specific, that this number includes units shipped to retailers and does not encompass our awesome Game Pass players. Now, as somebody who uses Game Pass, who's a connoisseur of value, I'm just being silly, man. I can tell you that this is actually nice because the developers have pretty much gone ahead to, if this is a statement, I'm looking for the statement where they would have made the statement directly. I'm seeing it on forums all over the place. Oh, here we go. Joe Pring writes, but who does he cite? Oh, there we go. He cites them directly. All right, let's go ahead and look at their, Twitter feed, because I think, Warrior 64 does a great job, but I would love to hear it from the horse's mouth in this case. And here we are, 3 days after launch, 1 million copies sold. Thank you for believing in Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I played an hour of the game. So far, so good. The game is solid in what it's presenting. So the first hour of the game already has me saying, yep, this is going to go to the backlog and it's going to be worth a play once I can get my way through all these other games. Then they said this number includes units shipped to retailers and does not encompass our awesome Game Pass players. Thank you all. I know it's funny to see that this is actually a thing, but I remember when some PlayStation fanboy came out and was talking about how they bought this game, support the devs, because that's how you do it. And his other PlayStation guys were like, yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, support the devs. And I was laughing because I was like, these people act like if you pay for Game Pass subscriptions, you're ripping developers off. When we know that these developers, they get a bag depending on what agreement they sign with Phil Spencer, something that he has actually publicly alluded to in terms of the various Game Pass deals being done with developers. One thing that really, sucks with the gaming conversation is there's a body of knowledge that a lot of people try to jump over to make arguments about the whole gaming conversation. And somebody once called that a moronic leap in another area. They said, if somebody jumps across all the prevailing body of knowledge, rather than educate themselves, they jump into this moronic leap, because this moronic leap is actually available here to see under Wario 64's, page, where this person called Jay's Gaming World said all 6 Game Pass players. Thank God it's, this game was multi-platform and they didn't get sucked into exclusivity with Xbox. And then they got roasted immediately. They just got dragged. But, the drama and stuff is funny, but reality speaks that we do have an article from 5 years ago, November 24, 2020, on GameSpot by Eddie Makuch that says Phil Spencer explains how developers get paid from Xbox Game Pass. It also puts me in a position where I looked at this comment just earlier and I made a video about it where this person was saying that Game Pass is Xbox money, pure sales is publisher money, and when they debate sales, how much goes directly into the publisher's pocket is what we actually pay attention to, but we shouldn't pay attention into Game Pass. Which this person is trying to pretty much conflate, the reality that Game Pass is making money and their whole subscription model and business model is different, but they want Xbox to come and play on the rules of the traditional market, of which, when I showed my math, I think what really, irked this person to have come out to say this is, even when you look at, say, 3 million units of sales of any Xbox game on PlayStation, it still did not even compare to the amount of profits that would be made from Game Pass when all is said and done, when the books are possibly balanced. Because I ran the numbers. For instance, you sell 3 million units on there times $70, and then you get 70%. And that's actually a couple $100 million when it's all said and done. And so this person basically decided that, oh, no, you have to go and talk about the sales of the games on Xbox. No, we don't. They have a different business model. And they couldn't be bothered about that, so-called archaic model that is not really doing anything for anybody. Because their Game Pass model, which was $2.9 billion as leaked from the Brazilian Economic Authority, is now approaching $4.8 billion. And so that scares a lot of people who have been detractors of Game Pass. They now want to sidestep Game Pass and want us all to basically Obi-Wan Kenobi forget our way that Game Pass exists. That's not going to happen. Now, let's go to the facts at hand. With Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft is offering unique deals to developers depending on their situation. Microsoft's subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, offers a tremendous value with more than 100 games in the catalog. Man, Eddie Malkuch, you should see Game Pass right now, man. If only you could see Game Pass 5 years into the future, including Halo, blah, blah, blah. Speaking to The Verge, Xbox's Phil Spencer said, Microsoft makes all different types of deals with developers depending on their unique situations. Our deals, in quote, I'll say, are all over the place. That sounds unmanaged, but it's really based on the developer's needs, Spencer said. One of the things that's been cool to see is a developer, usually a small to mid-sized developer, might be starting a game and say, hey, we're willing to put this on Game Pass on our launch day if you guys would give us X dollars now. So it says what we can do is we'll create a floor for them in terms of success of their game. They know they're going to get this return. In some cases, Microsoft will completely fund the production cost of a game. In this situation, developer can make money from retail sales. While Microsoft may also allow these games to release on PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Again, to this user over here, do you see that Xbox is investing in these games in one way or the other? And so you actually have to acknowledge Game Pass as an ROI for Xbox. Again, like I said, there are moronic leaps that are being attempted in here where people, and I'm not insulting you, I'm just basically pointing at your conclusion methodology, which you leaped past the body of knowledge. This article has been out here for years. I've cited, well, I guess maybe because it's my job, but again, if you're going to make an argument and try to refute what I say, maybe go do the homework. Perhaps it will help us to understand better where we are. And it says, with developers taking in that revenue, right? Microsoft uniquely benefits in these types of situations by having a game launch day and date on Xbox Game Pass. He also says, for them, they've protected themselves from any downside risk. The game is going to get made. Then they have all the retail upside. We have the opportunity for day and date, Spencer said, that would be a flat fee payment to a developer. Sometimes the developers more done with the game, and it's more of a transaction. Hey, we'll put it in Game Pass if you pay us this amount of money. Our agreements are different. Developers have come to Microsoft asking for deals based on usage and monetization. We're open to experimenting with many different partners because we don't think we have it figured out, Spencer said. When we started, we had a model that was all based on usage. Most of the partners said, yeah, we understand, but we don't believe it. So just give us money up front. So they started to just give money up front. And here we are today. Expedition 33, Clear Obscure, is citing that, apart from its awesome Xbox Game Pass players who have given them a bag indirectly, right? They've sold or shipped 1 million copies to retailers. Do you see how this is working out for these developers? Also in the interview, Spencer said he'd been heartened to see more and different types of games come to light thanks to Game Pass. Remember in 2023, when Xbox had a really decent year with Game Pass, many people forget. There was Payday, there was Wolong, there was Starfield, and a good number of games that did come out on Game Pass, but the news and the press was still very loud. It was always noise that was louder than the facts. Do you understand? That same year is the year that PlayStation Money had it, Final Fantasy, and a few games, and then launched Marvel Spider-Man 2 in that fall, close to Starfield. At this moment in time, many of these people didn't realize that there were developers that were looking at the market and saying, man, the risk in terms of developing these games are high. And so many now are looking at hedging their bets. That's why the developers of Stalker 2, that's why they reached out to Xbox, because they knew they'd have the upside of the market to be able to sell wherever they can put their games. Xbox is not demanding exclusivity from these cats, because exclusivity will cost a lot of money. However, Game Pass is going to be like, hey, you still sell Lies of P. When the team, if they're not, so this is Phil still talking, if they're just out there pitching to the game to publishers on a retail game, if it doesn't fit into some Excel spreadsheet that tells you what the retail outcome will be, then it doesn't get greenlit, Spencer said. You see things you see this in things like Netflix. There are clearly shows on Netflix that would have never been greenlit by NBC, CBS, or ABC in the old model, and frankly, can have real success. And my hope is that Game Pass can get to that same level. Well, I don't know, man, but Xbox Game Pass is not without its critics, Eddie Malkuch writes. As some people say, subscription services like Xbox Game Pass and Apple Arcade further devalue games and condition people to think that games should be free or cheap. They should be, Eddie Makuch. These executives are making so much money. Eddie Makuch, your colleague, Steven Tortillo, if this is not shocking enough for you, when he did an interview with that Embracer guy or Saber Interactive guy, the interview was held on his private jet, and he was talking about how he closed down a studio that didn't make money. These guys are making money, man. These gals are making money that are running the gaming industry. They make already excess money, and even seeing the way Game Pass still brings in money already tells you that they are still, making bank, because these games, to be honest, are software distribution. If somebody gives you $100 or somebody gives you 10, it's all coming to you. You don't need to go through the physical channels as much as you need to, or you needed to back in the day. As much as people will talk about physical games and all this and the cost and everything, behold, physical game players are now a small number because of the convenience. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, believe it or not, as many people may be, detractors of Game Pass, he says Xbox Game Pass off to a very strong start with 15 million subscribers so far. Around 70% of Xbox Series X and S consoles sold at launch were attached to a new or existing subscription, which bodes well for the service going forward. So if you've been tracking Xbox Game Pass growth, in 5 years, they've more than doubled their subscriber count. A lot of people made fun of the Xbox Game Pass proposition for years. And they said, subscriptions have flatlined. Another fanboy nonsense that was propagated out here on these internet streets. Which is funny, because in that 5 years, they've already more than doubled the number of Game Pass subscribers. If you look at the date, November 2024, you see this? We're now in April of 2025. Another 5 years from 2024. Sorry, another 5 years, from 2024, which would be 2029. If Game Pass is not sitting at 60 million minimum, then something is terribly wrong. With the new generation of consoles coming out, I think this is why a lot of these folk are freaking out and want you to ignore Game Pass when talking about sales. This is a feel-good mechanism that they're trying to implement, but reality refuses them. Reality says, no, that's not how it works. You have to contend with what's available in terms of the knowledge base. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.